I gave you guys the exact levels, and let me walk over to the big board here. Let's walk over here and take a look. But I gave you guys the playbook. I said I was short on Bitcoin. I was looking for a pullback to about 65,000. That was based on this trend line right here, this high pivot, connecting through this high pivot. So you broke out, and then it would retrace to the scene of the crime. I drew that on. I think I drew that exact trend line on this anyways. That's exactly what happened.
Bitcoin Zella stands out with its simplicity and clarity. We've crafted an experience that anyone can dive into, whether you're a crypto expert or just a new to the crypto world. Now guess who keeps his eye on us? The author of best-selling book Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And we want to take this opportunity and thank all the people who trusted us, and we read every comment. And the best part, it's free. Subscribing now means you will get all new information for free. Don't just follow the trends, stay ahead of them. Subscribe to Bitcoin Zella today and enjoy the new edge. In this video, let's discuss these topics and more.
One thing to keep in mind here is that yesterday, Bitcoin was selling sharply when the stock market was selling sharply. Towards the latter half of the day, the last 2 hours, the stock market began to rally. Bitcoin began to rally. Today, the stock market is up. Bitcoin is up. All right, so my point is, again, at this point, it is not a digital gold. It is very simply a risk asset, and investors at this point in time are trading it like a risk asset. So be aware of that. What does that mean? Well, it means if the stock market is going higher, Bitcoin's going to go higher, right? So again, here you have this move. That's if the stock market's going higher, it's going to follow this path on Bitcoin and go test 74,000 on the charts for an all-time high or a hit of the double top. All right, so we'll just keep that in mind is that, I truly do believe 5, 10, 15 years from now, it's more digital gold than a risk asset. But at least for now, you got to call a spade, right? I mean, it is what it is. It is a risk asset, and it follows the stock market. So if the stock market starts collapsing, generally Bitcoin, you would expect it to follow suit. All right, let's go on to a couple other charts here. Gold had that beautiful pullback yesterday, so we did see gold pulling back nicely here. If we take a look at the gold chart, it is bouncing today. Just running back to the big board here just to kind of go over things with you guys. You have your parallel channel, amazing parallel channel that I finally found, and it looks like it has some teeth, although we're not sure yet. You always have to wait, but there was your hit right there. You had your nice reversal candle on the daily chart. Today we are bouncing up, I think partially because the dollar is down, and just partially because investors are coming back to gold after a pullback. There's this underlying, how we talk about buy the dip in the stock market, like every dip gets bought. In gold right now, that same mentality is about 10x. It's way more prevalent. Every pullback, because of the worries about the U.S. debt, people are ready to just pile in gold. Now, to me, that can be a little bit of a warning sign that maybe we're due for a bigger pullback here. I mean, again, not that it would be a big pullback, but down to the low end of that. But the idea being, again, is that in general, when the retail crowd starts FOMOing in, oftentimes that can be a short-term top. So keep an eye on that, guys. But again, good level there. Decent little bounce today. We'll watch that high trend line on the chart of silver. All right.
Bitcoin rebounded from 10-day lows, with $65,000 now a critical support level. Traders believe the recent correction is over, and some predict a retest of all-time highs soon. Bitcoin briefly dipped to $65,000 before rebounding, making this level a key support to maintain bullish momentum. After a brief sell-off, Bitcoin avoided further losses, bouncing back above $67,000 and holding its short-term uptrend. Traders like Crypt Nouveau believe the worst of the correction is over, while Michael Van de Poppy predicts an all-time high retest in the next month. U.S. jobless data and interest rate decisions could influence Bitcoin's price, with some traders expecting potential volatility. Bitcoin's recovery suggests the correction may be over, but economic events in the coming weeks could still drive further price fluctuations.
Next up, let's go to the silver chart. Let's go to the silver chart here. Silver getting a small bounce today. Notice how this bounce on silver is a little weaker than gold. Never got up to my resistance level up here, so there's no trade here. This would be your technical support. I was talking about this with members of my commodity service, like would I want to buy this technical support? My answer is no for me, but I wouldn't fault anyone for buying it and just keeping a tight stop underneath. The reason I wouldn't do it is just because I still am looking at a market. And again, folks, this is really important. So remember the yield curve, and I'm focusing on this, but there's about 10 other economic indicators out there that tell us to be cautious. And because silver is an industrial metal, at least 50% an industrial metal, if the U.S. economy goes into a recession, it probably doesn't perform as well in the near term. Now, the kicker here is that we had an inverted yield curve. Everyone freaked out. But if you look at the data, the inverted yield curve doesn't mean anything. It just it's like a heads up. It's like a heads up. So for 2 years, inverted yield curve. People were worried. Then they kind of became less worried because nothing was happening. Now we've uninverted, and everyone made a big deal about the uninversion. Oh, here comes the recession. If you look at the data and you go back, and I've studied this data, it actually takes 3 to 6 months from the uninversion on average for the recession to hit. What does that mean? Well, from the uninversion, it puts us in December to February. That would be your expectation of when you're going to start to see that bigger weakness in the economic data. So if it's going to happen, that's the period. But again, the idea is that for me buying silver on a pullback, I just want to be a little careful in case we see that. Now, where would I buy silver? If we look at the chart here, I still love this $29 level. If we got down to 29, I think it's a very solid play. Let's look at oil real quick here, guys, on the oil trade here as we go through. Oil is getting a small bounce, still a weak bounce, and I would still expect it to head lower to $65. And if we take a look here at the chart of natural gas, I already isolated down for you guys my key levels here. I have resistance up here and support down here. It's making its way towards resistance. If it gets up there, yes, I would be interested in shorting it, especially if it keeps grinding up with green candle after green candle. I think that is a very, very solid opportunity. All right, lastly, I just want to take a quick look at some of these other names here. We have Apple stock here to take a look, double top from the all-time high. If it does break out, where would Apple be expected to go? You have this classic pattern or trend line at around 248. I've already discussed with you guys my NVIDIA analysis that if NVIDIA continues higher, 150 is a very logical target price on that. Doesn't mean it will, but I always look at both sides, right? You look at the downside, you look at the upside. All right, a trader or investor that only looks at the side that they want it to go is doing themselves a huge disservice. And I've very rarely met one of those investors or traders who are profitable when they only focus on the direction that they want to go, because ultimately when it doesn't, they're caught essentially with their pants down, and it's not a good situation.
BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust, IBIT, attracted $317 million in inflows, even as other ETF face losses. Bitcoin's price remains volatile, hovering around $67,000. Despite market uncertainty, BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust continues to lead, amassing $317 million in inflows this week, while competing funds like ARKB and VanEck HODL saw significant losses. While Grayscale's Bitcoin Mini Trust gained $5 million, other Bitcoin ETFs struggled, collectively losing $130 million. Bitcoin's price fluctuated from a high of $69,500 to its current level of $67,000, driven by broader macroeconomic trends. As the U.S. presidential election and Federal Reserve interest rate decision approach, analysts anticipate increased volatility, which could impact Bitcoin prices, with some predicting a potential surge post-election. BlackRock's strong inflows reflect continued institutional confidence, even as market volatility looms ahead of key economic and political events. At the Brisius Summit, Russian lawmakers proposed using Bitcoin for international trade to bypass Western sanctions, as Brisius seeks to challenge U.S.-led financial systems. The group's growing membership highlights its rising global influence. At the Brisius Summit, Russian officials explored using Bitcoin mined in Russia for international trade, allowing transactions without relying on U.S. dollar systems. Leaders from member nations, including China and India, discussed how cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin could offer resilience against Western financial sanctions. With new members such as Iran and Saudi Arabia, Brisius' influence is growing. Economists note the coalition's rising economic strength as U.S. dominance wanes. Brisius aims to create a financial system less reliant on the dollar, with Bitcoin providing a decentralized, borderless solution for trade among member nations. As Brisius expands and explores crypto adoption, it signals a shift in global trade dynamics, challenging the Western-dominated financial system. If you've been with us so far, a big thank you. Don't forget to subscribe for free to Bitcoin Zella for your daily news. The link is waiting below. That's all for today's crypto news. Stick around for more updates, insights, and analysis on cryptocurrencies. Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more exciting content.